After we drink out of these disposable plastic bottles, where do they end up? Plastic is currently recyclable, but it is a relatively new accomplishment, beginning in the 1990s. Only 13 states have a returnable program in place today, and of those 13, only 6 can return water bottles. These programs place a deposit on the bottles so that consumers get a money incentive for recycling. Since the programs are scarce, only 22% of bottled water bottles are recycled. The remaining 78%, about 70 billion bottles a year, end up in landfills. That's 140 million each day. Many bottles are also discarded on the side of highways and in parks. As a nation, we spend millions annually to clean bottles littered on public land. Then, companies go out and spend more money on advertisements and colorful labels that waste paper and ink, when we could all be spending that money to create safe drinking water for everyone. There has to be a solution to all this bottled water madness. In fact, there are several. Using disposable bottles is inevitable. They're convenient and relatively inexpensive in moderation. When it's hot and we're out of the house, drinking water is essential to keep from getting dehydrated. But instead of tossing that old bottled water in the trash can, hang on to it, please. Recycle it. Currently, Michigan only offers a returnable deposit on mineral water, but that doesn't mean you can't recycle your water bottles. You just have to know a clean earth is enough of an incentive. Another option is buying a reusable polycarbonate bottle. Manufacturers have found some alternatives to BPA in production, thus eliminating all health risks. One such alternative is copolyester. Here's a look at how these copolyesters are used to make BPA-free bottles. Rather than using BPA as a base monomer, they use a similar substance, one that doesn't cause health problems. Eastman Chemical Company is currently the top manufacturer of BPA-free polycarbonate. Nalgene gets all of their formulas from this company. Unfortunately, the specific chemical used in the production of their BPA-free bottles is unreleased to the public. Another alternative to BPA is imidazolium salts. Imidazolium salts are formed by protonation, which is the addition of a proton to an atom, ion, or molecule. It also utilizes CO2 molecules by grabbing the molecules and incorporating them into the plastic-making process.
Another alternative is stainless steel bottles. Stainless steel bottles were pioneered by the company Clean Canteen. They are made with food-grade and recycled stainless steel, and therefore don't require special lining to protect liquids. Stainless steel is also naturally BPA-free. There are relatively no detrimental taste effects from the material. Aluminum bottles were pioneered by SIG. The aluminum used is not food-grade, therefore requires a special lining. Steve Wasik, CEO of SIG, admitted that the original liner design was made with an epoxy that contained trace amounts of BPA. However, the epoxy has since been modified to be as free of BPA as possible. They admit that it is impossible for them to ensure their liner is 100% BPA free. The new lining is made from EcoCare powder, which is a combination of various non-toxic copolyesters that don't leave a metallic taste.
We could also consider bottling water in different materials. Plastic is obviously cheap and easy to transport, but as we have seen in this investigation, not very good for the environment. So what about glass? Glass is recyclable in all forms and doesn't leach any harmful chemicals into our water. It can even be washed in the dishwasher and reused by the consumer. The more cullet, or crushed, recycled glass used in the production of glass bottles directly lowers the CO2 emissions, production costs, and fuel wasted. However, glass is breakable and heavy. Therefore, it costs more energy to ship glass bottles. But the FDA states that between 60 to 70% of bottled water is sold in the same state it is produced, so the water need not be shipped very far. Aluminum cans are also a viable option. Aluminum products are currently the most recycled item on the planet. In fact, in 2007, the EPA estimates that 50.7% of all aluminum was recycled. This is an unprecedented percentage. There has been some controversy about epoxy BPA linings in the cans. According to a study by the Environmental Working Group, 17% of aluminum canned sodas today exceed safe levels of BPA. However, the plastic linings were designed to keep acidic drinks from eating away at the aluminum. With only pure water in a can, no lining would be necessary. Obviously, the best alternative to plastic bottles is not to recycle, but to reuse.
Reusable BPA-free bottles and metal bottles are efficient, safe, and relatively inexpensive. But what do you fill them with? What many people don't realize is that U.S. tap water is more stringently tested than the water in bottles. Ever since the 1974 Safe Drinking Water Act, municipal water districts, like Ann Arbor, are required by law to maintain safe levels of various contaminants like microorganisms and industrial chemicals. They have to run many tests in high-tech labs and disclose information to their clients, like the source of the water and a report on contaminant levels. In fact, a city water district is required to test for coliform 100 times in a single month, whereas bottled water companies only 4 times. This is just one of the many differences in quality between bottled and tap. But what about cost? Bottled water seems pretty cheap to me. However, since we've already determined that 21 gallons of bottled water is about $46.06 retail, that's approximately $2.19 a gallon. On the other hand, for the Detroit Municipal Water District, the average treatment cost per 1,000,000 gallons for 2010 was approximately $270, so that's about $0.00027 per gallon. That's way cheaper.
What if you get your drinking water from a private drinking well? 40 million Americans get their drinking water from private wells, and they know there are problems with well contamination. Contamination can come from many different sources, like animal feedlots, farm fertilizers, and even septic tank leakage. In suburban areas, lawn fertilizers, pesticides, and landfill contamination are also of concern. But the problem is fixable. Homeowners need only to call out a specialist to test for specific contaminants. Once the contaminants are located, they can buy the proper filtration system. Carbon filters can be used to get rid of suspended matter. Softeners can reduce the hardness of water or the calcium and magnesium content. UV treatment disinfects and reduces bacteria, and reverse osmosis passes water through a semi-permeable membrane to remove salt, iron, and lead. There are also many different methods of installing these filters, and they can come at various prices as well. You could place your filter on a counter, mount it on your faucet, or even in a simple pitcher in the fridge.
What can you do to help? We encourage you to sign the Take Back the Tap pledge at takebackthetap.org/pledge. Next time you're leaving the house, grab a reusable bottle. Never open a plastic bottle in your house, ever. Grab a glass and drink some fantastic Ann Arbor tap water. It's cheaper, environmentally friendly, and safe.
A good friend Ben Franklin once said,
When the well's dry, we know the worth of water.
256 years later,
the message still rings true.
it's time to take action before it's too late.
Okay, mosquitoes.